Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, today we're doing a series on the Mr. FPJ D10 Nano project, but more specifically in this instance, Taki Udon and Retro Remake SuperStation One. Because the updates are coming fast and furious on this, and at least at the time of recording, you can go and get in on a new batch of pre-orders for the SuperStation One. They are reopened again. Now, I am recording this about 22 hours before you're going to watch it, so that might actually change and they might be sold out, but I do have a schedule to adhere to. But there's a ton of new SuperStation One updates, and honestly some of them absolutely just seem to be thumbing their nose at Analogue 3D in all of the funniest ways possible. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. And I will catch you up on some of the previous videos information because it was a holiday week and maybe you missed a few, and then we will jump into the new information as well. But about a week and a half ago, Taki Udon showed off and I talked about on a video the unpopulated SuperStation One PCB where all of the silicon and associated hardware would actually go onto this thing. Now as of today, or yesterday technically, we do have a brand new photo showing the entire board actually populated. So from start to finish, we have that Cyclone 5 SoC that is both the ARM cores as well as the FPGA chip on board. That is what makes a Mr. FPGA. You have the dock IO connector right there as well, which will definitely be pre-assembled once you actually get your unit, and all the other associated hardware that would make up a Mr. FPGA, or in this instance a SuperStation One. But it seems like maybe Taki Udon is hiding a surprise here because one chip is covered over by a finger. Not sure if that is something that is a bonus or something we don't know yet, or maybe just the way the finger was positioned in the photo, it's covering over a very common piece of silicon. Honestly, I'm not quite sure, so it's kind of fun to presume. But you leave me a comment down below and you tell me, surprise feature or just kind of a finger in a photo. And we've gone over a lot of the different updates as well on the CD loading, and people have been asking a lot of questions. As of right now, we've seen CD loading for the Sega CD, for the PlayStation 1, for the Sega Saturn, as well as for the PC Engine CD. People keep asking if Neo Geo CD and maybe even the CDI is going to get this feature in the future. I have no idea. We'll have to wait to see the updates. And again, this is all just kind of experimental features right now, so don't expect that any of these things would ship with the SuperStation 1. Right now, what we know is the CD for PlayStation 1 are going to go into the dock, and it's going to dump the contents of that disk once, and then the disk will basically act as the marker to load up whatever game you put in. That's always what's been promised with SuperStation 1, so anything else would be considered a bonus, and I just want to manage those expectations. But Taki Udon and Retro Remake are always playing around with the hardware, bringing new features in, so it will be exciting not just to see what this thing does day one when I review it out of the box, but also what it does in month 3, 6, and even at a year, because I'm sure the capabilities can expand. But as far as actually loading from the disk and streaming in data, Taki Udon has showcased that on his Twitter. It definitely is something that people are really excited about. But honestly, if this thing can load CDs, the question really remains, what else could it possibly do with real media? And don't forget, we don't really have any cart reading whatsoever on Mr. FPGA. Heber's playing around with it, but it seems like Taki Udon and Retro Remake are playing around with the same thing. And again, this is kind of going to the heart of the Analogue 3D, because Taki Udon basically showcased this loading up an N64 cartridge, in this instance Super Mario 64 in a Japanese version. Now if you are familiar with Mr. FPGA, then this loading bar will look familiar here. This is what is actually loading the game from the SD card into the RAM so that it can execute it in the FPGA core. But this is not dumping the cartridge per Taki Udon's answers on Twitter. It's actually reading the data from the ROM and loading it into the Mr. FPGA to execute. So basically, if you turn the power off and on again, it wouldn't be saved to the SD card. It is loading off the real cartridge. But if you're familiar with Mr. FPGA, you will realize that loading up Super Mario 64 is definitely quicker than this. That is because this is currently just a little bit of playing around on the Taki Udon Retro Remake side of things. Looks like they made a one-off cartridge adapter to try to load up N64 carts, because people do want to use real media. Obviously on the CD side, SuperStation 1 will have that covered for at least PlayStation 1, but it seems like there is some experimenting going on, because you'll see here they are into Super Mario 64, specifically the Japanese version. And again, this seems like a little bit of a dig at Analogue in a fun way, kind of challenging the expectations of what SuperStation 1 could potentially be, because just recently I did a video on Analogue's preview of their actual console, showing a tiny bit of actual footage from the cart in and of itself. And again, really didn't answer any of the questions anyone has whatsoever as far as what's going on with the Analogue 3D, but at least it was something other than a 3D render. But if we actually go over to what we're looking at here, let's do a little math behind all this. Because if we take a look at this loading bar here, I did a keyframe when it actually started loading up, and I did a keyframe when it actually stopped loading to get an idea of exactly the timing and how long it took to load up Super Mario 64. Now, maybe this is one of those things. Maybe it'll technically work. Maybe it'll be an adapter, but maybe it'll take, a little bit longer than actual loading to SD card to load up those games. But you tell me, would you rather wait a while or just basically keep to the SD card? I would be curious to see what people say when it comes to that. But you'll see here from start to finish, that's how long it took in real time. And as far as the actual seconds are concerned, it took exactly 33 seconds for this game to load up. And considering it is an 8 megabyte ROM or 8,000 kilobytes, that would give us an effective transfer rate of about 242 kilobytes per second. Now again, I don't know if it's loading up all 8 megabytes. I just know that that is the ROM size on board Super Mario 64, but it gives us an approximation of how quickly or not quickly that game's actually loading from the cartridge into Mr. FPGA. But again, Taki Udon said it's just playing around, and if it's going to be a feature, they would definitely try to improve the speed on that, because think of it this way, an 8 megabyte cartridge took about 33 seconds to load up, but some of the biggest cartridges on N64, including Conker's Bad Fur Day, are actually going to be much larger. Basically, it's going to be a 64 megabyte cartridge, which means 33 seconds times 8 would be the effective loading speed. Well, you're talking about 264 seconds, or about a little over 4.5 minutes. Now, that obviously would be something that wouldn't be the most fun thing to play around with, but again, if this is something that gets turned into a product, Taki Udon has stated they would definitely work on making it much faster. But maybe even if it took a minute to load up Conker's Bad Fur Day, being able to have a cart reader on your SuperStation One, effectively making it something like an Analogue 3D just with Robert FPGA Zoom Process core would be amazing. And that's on top of all the other fun things we've seen right now, including that new snack port on the dock in and of itself with a toggle switch, so you can not only use PlayStation 1 controllers and memory cards via snack, but if you hit the toggle, you can use any other snack adapter that does exist from Retro Remake to be able to control your games. I think it's funny that there is an N64 adapter coming out as well. Seems like maybe the plan here is to make sure that that cart loading actually does work, and it can be something that people use in the future. That would at least be my presumption and guess. And I do think that this is definitely indicative of just how popular N64 and FPGA is going to be in 2025 and 2026. We have Robert FPGA Zoom Process core on Mr. FPGA. We have ModRetro working on the M64 with Robert to basically enhance the Mr. FPGA core to fix up a couple little dangling bits. And now we have the SuperStation One showing cart reading, at least in a preliminary format. And of course we have the Analogue 3D pending as well, with one small demo, but really nothing else to report at this point in time. But N64 in 2025 is absolutely heating up, and it is going to be basically a Nintendo-based arms race to see who can do it the best. What I really love about the SuperStation One is it keeps growing features, and it is very open development formatted. Taki Udon and Retro Remake have shown every single step along the way, from bare PCBs to renders to populated PCBs, even some of the experiments like the CD loading across multiple different platforms, and now an N64 cart reader that's loading up games, albeit slowly, on the SuperStation One and Mr. FPGA core. And if you're asking or wondering if this is going to come to mainline Mr. FPGA, I highly doubt it. Not really a priority there, because SuperStation One is forking the software of the Mr. FPGA ecosystem, but it is still a Mr. FPGA. And you'll see here there now is available a 4-player N64 snack adapter, and that's definitely going to be something you can use with the SuperStation One, and maybe sometime in the future you'll actually be using it with real cart reading. But tell me down below, do you even care about cart reading or not? For me personally, I have a ton of carts, but if I'm going to play an FPGA, I just go off the SD card because it makes my life easier, but I know a lot of people feel differently, so I would be curious. And as far as how many snack adapters currently exist that we know will work with the SuperStation One, we know we have the N64 adapter, and we know that we have the PlayStation 1 built in, and the Super Nintendo adapter as well. But it's possible that more could be coming out. We just haven't seen it yet, so I would be assuming. But this is a ton of fun, watching an N64 cart load up in real time on a Mr. FPGA core. It's been something that people have been asking for the longest time, and it seems like everyone's playing around with it. Even Heber with the multi-system 2 has shown some cart reading off, but more on the Game Boy Color side of things. But clearly this can load up an N64 cartridge into the actual FPGA and memory and play it from the cart. We just need to see if it can be sped up enough to be a viable option, because 33 seconds for Mario 64, not the worst thing in the world, but not obviously amazing. But over 4 minutes for a 64 megabyte cartridge, probably something that no one would want to wait for. So we'll just have to wait and see how fast this could be made from Retro Remake, because if they can speed it up 8 times or so, it would be absolutely amazing. But N64 in 2025 is absolutely just getting crazy in all the best ways possible. But I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.